Hi, today I'm going to tell you 5 things not to do in investing. There aren't many people in the finance field who are going to tell you these things, so please make sure to stick around until the end. My name is Gary Mishuris. I'm the managing partner and chief investment officer of Silver Ring Value Partners. I also teach the value investing seminar at the F.W. Olin Graduate School of Business. So what are these 5 things? So let's start with, don't buy anything that you don't understand yourself. So not because someone sold it to you or someone is putting high pressure sales tactics on you, or your friend did it. Just don't do that. Make sure whatever you invest in, make sure you yourself actually understand what you're buying and why. So that's point number 1. So the second point is, don't buy high fee products in finance unless you really understand why you're paying that high fee. That's not to say that there are no good products that have a high fee. I think there are, but for the most part, there are a lot of products that are set up to have a high fee that basically favors the sponsor at your expense. So if you're going to buy them, really make sure you understand why you're buying them and why they're worth that high fee. So point number 3 is, don't assume that people giving you financial advice have their incentives aligned with yours. There are all too many people, unfortunately, in this business who are not set up in a way where the only way they do well financially is if you do well. They might give you advice, and maybe it's even well-meaning advice, that essentially might not be to your advantage and might actually make them a lot of money, sometimes at your expense. Again, not trying to say that there are people, everyone is an evildoer trying to take advantage of you, but just keep in mind that people are not necessarily benefiting only if you're doing well from a financial product that they're selling you. So keep that in mind and understand, how are people incented? Are their incentives aligned with yours or are they not? 4th, don't fall victim to behavioral sales tactics. So what are these behavioral sales tactics? So if you really want to know, read Psychology of Influence or something like that by Robert Cialdini. But basically things like social proof, meaning, oh, this famous well-known person bought this investment product, so you should too. Or scarcity, we're going to really shut this product down soon for new investors, so you better get in while there's still room. So things like that are really designed to appeal to that old part of your brain that reacts instinctively, and it's really meant to be an override on your rational thinking self. So if someone is using those tactics, think about why are they doing that? If their product is so great, why do they need to resort to these cheap tactics and tricks? And my advice would be, if you detect them, and by the way, the best people, when they use them, you can't even detect that they're doing it, so be wary of that as well. But if you detect someone pulling clear behavioral tactics on you, just stop dealing with that person. They're trying to influence you, and chances are they're doing it in a way that's going to benefit them and might not benefit you. And finally, the last thing you should not do in investing is, don't focus on the short term. So investing is full of people running around trying to generate returns next month, next quarter, next year. By and large, those are goals that are really hard to achieve, and you really don't have that much control in most cases about what your investments are going to do over the short term. So instead, what should you focus on? Well, 2 things. One is, you should focus on the very long-term outcome, because chances are, if you really are an investor and not a speculator, that's what you should care about. And lastly, you should focus on the process in the short term. So if you are buying and making investment in a company, you should focus on your thesis and how is the business performing versus that thesis. If you're handing your money over to someone else to manage, you should really be able to assess their process and how they're implementing their process and judge them by that, rather than did they do well or not this quarter. So these are the 5 things to keep you out of trouble, and just keep in mind that, think for yourself. Don't just rely on others' advice, and decide what's right for you. Thanks, and take care.